Hi friends, welcome back to Farm Girl Diaries. My name is Caitlin, and today is going to be a pretty decent kitchen day. It's Sunday, so it's the beginning of the week. I actually am off tomorrow on Monday, but I thought today would be a really good day. We want to make some lunches for the week, and my garden's starting to come in, so I kind of want to use up the extra produce that I have from last year's garden that I have in the freezer. So we're going to be doing a couple of different things today. No really rhyme or reason, but it's going to be a good day. So to start off with, I'm going to be making a Italian sub pasta salad. I actually got the inspiration for this from the Pioneer Woman's latest magazine. I think it's her, May, June magazine. It's the latest magazine that she put out. And we're going to be batching up. I'm not really following her recipe. I'm just kind of going to be putting in this pasta salad what I like in Italian subs, and hopefully it goes well. So that's going to be one of my lunches for the week. Along with, we're going to be making some cheddar dill scones. I have a lot of fresh dill coming in. Fresh dill smells so good. And this recipe is Ina Garten's recipe, and I made it before. I really love it. So I'm going to be making a big batch of these scones. Some are going to stay out, and they're going to be like the sides to my pasta salad at lunch, whereas others I'm going to freeze. I don't think I'm going to cook them. I think I'm going to put them in the freezer in dough form, and then I can pull them out and cook them whenever I want. That's a great way to use up some of my dill. So we'll see how many one batch of scones gets me, and then I may do a second batch again just to use up my scones. We have some broccoli, some frozen broccoli. So yesterday for my dinner, I harvested my first head of fresh broccoli, and I made a cheese sauce, and I put it on a big baked potato. So cheddar cheese tossed broccoli on a baked potato. It was delicious. And now I have a whole bunch of cheese sauce left over. I 100% made too much cheese sauce, but I also knew I wanted to do this dish, so I made extra kind of on purpose. So we're going to be using that, and I got some frozen chicken from the freezer, and we're going to be making a cheesy chicken broccoli and rice casserole. And we're going to throw in the oven, and then we're going to put directly in the freezer. So I got some of my last year's broccoli. This will be a great thing to put into this casserole. So I like to let the broccoli thaw before I use it. I feel like I just get a better texture when it's thawed. So I'm going to let it thaw completely, and my chicken I have in a bowl of cold water. If you have never tried this before, this is a great way, let me bring it over without spilling, this is a great, quick way to thaw meat. It seems counterintuitive because you're putting frozen meat into cold water, but it actually does help it thaw really quickly. I'm not sure what the science is, but it does. So I'm waiting for that to thaw, and then we're going to make that cheesy chicken casserole. And I also have some old cornbread. What I like to do is I love to make a cornbread, a big skillet of cornbread, but I can never eat all of it. I get tired of it. So I always take that leftover cornbread and I throw it in the freezer. So I've crumbled it up, I threw it in the freezer. This is a couple of months ago. But this is going to go on the top of my cheesy chicken broccoli and rice casserole. And it's better than breadcrumbs because it's cornbread. It's so fantastic. So we're going to be using this up from the freezer. So that's going to be good. And then also, I was watching Pioneer Woman today, and I had some more inspiration. I basically think today's cooking is inspired by Food Network, mainly Ina Garten and Ree Drummond. But I've made this recipe for years. This was one of when I first started out working full-time job after college. This was one of my go-to lunches, and I haven't made it in a very, very long time. So we're going to make it today. It's going to be, it's like soba noodles. It's like teriyaki noodles with vegetables. So my vegetables I like to use are green beans. So I have frozen green beans. So I'm letting these thaw. And then I did have to steal a carrot from my mom. I did not have any carrots. I didn't grow any this year either. I'm planning on growing them in the fall. But I had to steal a carrot from my mom because I like to do green beans and carrots. Now for this is going to be another lunch option in case I get tired of the pasta salad. And you can add a protein to this, tofu or chicken or shrimp. I'm actually just going to leave it as just the pasta and the veggies. I think that's going to be completely fine. So the first thing we're going to get doing is, because we want to be as useful with our time as possible, is I'm going to get my rice cooking. I like to cook my rice in the microwave. I think it's more hands-off. It takes longer than doing it on the stove, but then I don't need to stir it as much. And while the rice is cooking in the microwave, I'm going to get the pasta for the soba noodle pasta salad cooking on the stove, and then we're going to come to our scones. I have my big stand mixer out. Then we're going to get our scones going and going in the oven. So I'm going to start with, somehow I have like purple ink on me and I have no idea where that came from. Anyhow, I have no idea where that came from. Kind of concerned I'm dying. Okay. I don't think purple ink is necessarily a sign I'm dying, but it's me, so you never know. So I'm going to do, I have a lot of rice, so I think I'm going to start with probably 2 cups, or I have a lot of cheese, probably going to start with 2 cups of rice. So it's about a 2 to, when I cook rice, it's either a 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 ratio, somewhere in that for me, so I'll probably do 2.5 cups of water to 1 cup of rice. I lied. I have so much chicken stock. I'm going to use chicken stock instead of water. It's going to be so much more flavorful this way. So I'm doing, I think I'm going to start with just, oh my god. That smells so good. So I think when I make my chicken broth, it's more of a bone broth. I do add a little bit of veggie scraps like onion peels, carrot greens, bay leaf, but I really let my chicken bones go for, on the short end 48 hours, on the long end 72. I let them go for a long time. Okay, so I did 4 cups of chicken broth. I do have another pint if I need it. So we're going to start there. And 2 cups of rice. I'm going to put this in the microwave, and I do an 8-minute section. So 8 minutes stir, 8 minutes stir. While that is going, I'm going to get the water on the oven for the soba noodles. So we're going to do the soba noodles first. They'll be super quick, and then we will do the pasta salad. So while I'm waiting for my pot to fill up, I'm going to go ahead. I got my big old my stand mixer out, and we're going to be using that for our scones. So for the scones, I have 4 cups of flour in my stand mixer. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And 2 teaspoons of salt. I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees. And I have a stick of butter. The recipe calls for 3/4 of a pound of butter. So I'm going to use a stick, and I don't know. I honestly have no idea. I think that's probably close though. So I'm just going to use this, and it's going to be fine. So I'm going to chop this up, and this is cold butter. And I'm just going to dice, and then we're going to turn this on and add the butter. Oops. Come on. Add little by little. Okay, slow down. I have flour flying out. And you want to combine this until it's about the size of peas. While that is mixing, I'm going to get some cheddar cheese. You can dice or shred this. I'm going to just dice it into small cubes, and it calls for half a pound. So I'm just going to start with about, this container is what? This is an 8-ounce block. So I'm starting with half of that. So I'm starting with 4 ounces. My consistency here, it's really good. It looks almost like kind of like wet sand. You can't really see. It looks kind of like wet sand. So I think that's going to be pretty good. The recipe calls for 1 cup of heavy cream. I don't have heavy cream. So I'm just using milk, and I think that'll be fine. And then 4 eggs, lightly beaten. So I'm going to toss my eggs in here. Now I know I got a shell in here. I might have gotten more than 1 shell. So I'm just going to strain my milk and my eggs into here, just so I know I don't get any shell. Only make a slight mess. Okay, confirm there is no shell. There is nothing worse for me than biting into a shell. I hate it. It ruins whatever I am doing. Okay, now you do want to move quickly because you don't want that butter to melt or soften. So we're just going to combine that until just combined. And then we're going to toss in the cheddar. I'm going to toss in the cheddar. And then I have my dill here. And I actually did drop a little bit of flour into my dill. I was supposed to flour the cheese and I forgot to do that, but that's okay. You would want to flour the cheese because what can happen is the dill and the cheese will sink to the bottom of the scone as it's baking, and if you flour it, it stays more to it doesn't sink. So I have at least flour my dill. Get it nice and floured. I'm going to add that in there. Oops. And then go until just combined. Okay. And now I think I'm going to need to finish it with my hand. Okay. I get all of this beautifulness off of my paddle. I give up. I do not remember them being this messy the last time I made them, but I have checked the directions and I have followed the directions exactly. So I can't cut them and separate them and make like little scones out of them. So I'm just kind of going to put it all back together. Need to move some cheese. Make sure. And I think I'm going to go get some more dill to sprinkle on top. I don't see enough dill throughout this whole thing. So I think we're just going to go get some dill, sprinkle some more dill on top. And then we're going to start baking it. We'll pull it out and we'll cut it after it's kind of got more set. And then we'll finish baking it just in one big piece. Put these scones in for 20 minutes. The recipe said to roll the scones out to 3/8 of an inch and then cut it into your scones. And my dough was obviously too wet. The only thing I can think of is that I may have the heavy cream not using the heavy cream and using milk may have made them wetter than they were supposed to be, but everything else I followed the directions for. So I think they're going to turn out just fine. So we're going to bake them for about 10 minutes and then I'll make my cuts. Now I'm going to move on to the soba noodles. The rice is almost done. I'm going to stir the rice and then we're going to work on the soba noodles. So this is boiling. So you can use actual soba noodles. I'm just using spaghetti. I really like spaghetti with this pasta. It holds up well with the carrots and the green beans. So I'm getting my pasta in there. I'm just going to empty this whole container. I'm going to get a good amount of salt. And I'm also going to toss in my green beans. And I'll put the lid, well, let's give it a quick toss. And then let's focus on the carrots. So I want to get my dishes done before I move on to the next project, but I want to get my carrot in there first. I don't need everything in this noodle dish to cook completely, but I like it to have a little bit of a crunch, but I do like it to be cooked just a smidgen. So I'm just going to kind of, as long as it takes the noodles to cook, that's how long the green beans and these carrots will cook. I should have had these already done, so I'm just going to kind of hurry and get them cut into thin slices. And I don't peel my carrot. A lot of the nutrients are actually in the skin. I just give it a good wash, and I don't feel the need to peel. I just did some thin slices. I'm going to go throw it into the boiling water. Now, the pasta is completely cooked, and the carrots and the green beans have just started to cook, so they still have some crunch about them, which is exactly what I want. Okay, my pasta for the soba noodles is completely cooked. I'm going to get this thing back. I probably could have reserved that water, but it's okay. I'm going to fill it back up, put it back on the stove, and then I'm going to use this water to cook the noodles for the pasta salad. While that's cooking, my chicken is almost ready to cook. It's still a little frozen. So while the pasta noodles are cooking, we'll make the dressing for the soba noodles. Now we're going to make the sauce for our pasta soba noodle dish. I'm just going to make it in a quart jar so I can shake it. It'll make it easier. I'm going to start with about a quarter cup of honey. And I'm going to make extra sauce because I know these noodles really suck up the sauce. A good dose of sesame oil. Sesame oil goes a long way, so you want to be mindful of how much you're using there. A little bit goes a long way. I'm going to do about a quarter cup of rice vinegar. And then you just adjust this to taste. A good amount of soy sauce, probably a solid 3 tablespoons. And I like a little bit of heat, so I'm going to add a little bit of sriracha. And then some olive oil. You can use whatever oil, oopsie, making a mess. You can use whatever oil you want to use. But I'm going to start there. I'll put a lid on it. I did make a mess. I feel like I always make a mess. Okay. And then give it a shake. And then I want to try it before I dump it. I'm going to make sure it has the flavor that I want. So I'm just going to get a piece of the pasta. Dump it. That is perfect. I don't need anything else now. That is perfect. So I got a container that I'm going to keep it in. Move everything out of the way. Dump in my pasta and my carrots and all of this gloriousness. Add for a little bit of crunch, some sesame seeds. A little bit more crunch. Oh my goodness. And this gets better the longer that it sits. The break up in pasta's been sitting for a few minutes, so it's kind of starting to clump together. This is a dish you can eat warm, cold, or room temperature. That's so good. And it gets better the longer that it sits. I don't know why I haven't made this in so long. It is so, so good. So let me just get green bean and some pasta. So good. Okay. One dish down. And that could not have been any easier. I'll put this in the fridge to cool. So the cuts held. I did have to go put them, go make them more firm, but the cuts I made were still there to kind of like finish them off. And it's just a little bit wet in the middle, so I just put it in for another 3 minutes. So at this point, it's probably been in there for about 25 to 28 minutes. I'm going to put my cheese mixture from last night on the stove. This is just a simple queso. I melted 3 tablespoons of butter, added probably about 3 tablespoons of flour, made a roux. Then I added a good amount of milk, probably a cup, and a lot of Velveeta cheese, and that is it. That's how I make a simple queso. And then I did add some cowboy candy marinade into this because I love cowboy candy marinade in all of my cheeses. However, because I was doing it on a baked potato with broccoli, I didn't add a ton. So we are going to add more marinade into the cheese for our rice because I really like it on our rice. I'm going to get everything cleaned up and then we'll be back to add the pasta to this. So for the pasta salad, I'm using Golden Nugget Ratatouille noodles. They're just one of my favorite noodles and I really like them for pasta salad. So I'm just going to add in a healthy amount. I think that looks good. Give them a toss. Salt. And then let them cook. Look how pretty that is. So you can see my lines, it might be a little crumbly. But that's okay. Look at that scone. And that's full of melted cheese. So yummy. So good. So, this is piping hot, but let's go ahead and we'll give it a taste. I love that this is a savory scone, and I think this is going to be a perfect accompaniment to my Italian pasta salad. It's really hot. But you can see that big old hunk of cheese. So I think I like the fact that I sliced it instead of shredding it. Because it tastes, well, I mean, it's more cheesy. You get more of those hunks of cheese. So, delicious. Nice hint of dill. It's just delicious. So I did say I was going to freeze some of these before baking. I decided not to do that. I obviously baked them all, and then I'm going to freeze them. Other breads and cakes and desserts and stuff freeze fine, so I think these should freeze fine, and then that way, this could be like a simple breakfast. Pull it out maybe with an egg and some butter or even some jam on this would be, I don't know if jam would go too well with dill, but so good. So, I'm going to put this to the side, let my scones cool. My chicken is not yet melted, so as soon as my pasta is done, I'm actually going to bring another pot of water to boil. It is very hot in here. I'm going to boil my chicken, and then we'll add it to the rice casserole, and then we'll throw that in the oven. This is really good. Okay, stuff started happening all at once, which is completely fine. I moved my cheese sauce into this bowl, because the one thing with cheese sauce, especially when you're cooking on a gas stove, is it is so incredibly easy to scorch the bottom, which I did. So I didn't want to risk burning the cheese sauce more, so I'm just moving it to a bowl. Smells so good. Or the cheese tastes so good. And I added the cooked rice. And then I emptied the pasta salad pasta, and I put more water in that pot to bring to a boil to add the chicken that we're going to add to this rice. But, let's see, I need where did I put my frozen broccoli? I don't know what I did with my frozen broccoli. Oh, there it is. I'm going to go ahead, and I don't need to cook this. This is blanched. But I don't need to cook this because this will cook when we put it in the oven. So I'm just adding I was just going to add a bag, and then I found this like quarter of a bag. So I'm adding that in there too. And then my favorite flavoring for this is just my cowboy candy. I think that tastes delicious. This and some salt. So I'm going to do a healthy portion of my cowboy candy marinade. Now I'm going to set this aside until I'm ready for my chicken. But look at this big bowl of gloriousness. It smells so good. So since the broccoli was ice cold going in there, I'm not going to taste this at this point. Well, actually, I am. I want to taste my flavor. So just get some rice and some cheese. Spot on. A little bit more salt. Beautiful. Okay. Now I'm going to set this aside until we're ready for it with our chicken. I broke one of my rules for this pasta salad, and I'll tell you what that is in a second, but I didn't think everything through before I did this. So I make and can pickled onions. I don't think there is anything that a pickled onion cannot do. And I completely forgot that I had these canned. So I bought a fresh red onion, which I did not need to do. So I'm kind of really annoyed about that. And I also bought, where did I put them? Somewhere. Where did I put them? I also bought some cherry tomatoes, which goes against everything that I believe. I just really wanted to try this pasta salad. So I said I'm only allowed to do it once. From here on out, I can only use my tomatoes if they're coming in. I've been wanting to I make a really yummy buffalo chicken pasta salad. I've been really wanting to make that. And I haven't made it because I don't have cherry tomatoes. But I really wanted to try this one. So I broke my rules and I bought these cherry tomatoes, which we know we're going to taste like disappointment. But I did it anyway. So one time is okay. So I'm just going to dice slices in half, and my water is actually boiling behind me. Before I even get going, I'm going to get my chicken, which is completely thawed, and I'm going to get this into the boiling water. And the reason I'm doing it that way is it allows me to be really hands off with the chicken, and at the same time it's cooking, but it's not getting like any grilled marks or burned marks or hard marks like that you would if you had like just grilled it. And it'll go into the pasta salad flakier and better. You won't have any of that charred goodness that I do really like, but I think it'll be okay. Not pasta salad, in the chicken and broccoli casserole. I think it'll be okay without that. So I'm just going to get these tomatoes all diced up. I got my red onions and my cherry tomatoes. Here's where we're going to really start throwing this thing together. I went out and I picked some kale. This is going to be the lettuce, obviously the lettuce portion of my BMT. You can do whatever you want to do, whatever you typically like on an Italian sub. Feel free to do. I just diced my kale up pretty big. And then I picked a little bit of basil. I'm just going to tear it. I don't have a ton of basil coming in, but I did do a hard prune on my basil in these leaves. And that'll just encourage new growth. Basil is something that does really well when you prune it back hard. It'll come back even harder. And Rachel Ray always says to tear your herbs instead of cutting them. That's what we're doing. Okay. Next, we're going to go to some store-bought ingredients. Let me just, come on, open for me. We have some provolone that I am just going to slice and or dice into smaller pieces. Kind of break up those pieces a bit. Okay. Then I have some pepperoni. That's going to give a nice spice to the dish. Just kind of Size stuff the best you can. And the last meat I'm going to use ham. The recipe that I'm not actually following called for salami, and salami would have been nice, but salami was expensive, and I'm trying to keep this on the cheaper end. And what's nice about this is a lot of your homegrown veggies, so once you're kind of growing all this yourself, you know, the only thing I really needed to buy was the cherry tomatoes, but once I have them for myself, then it makes this a little bit more cost effective. And I'm going to get out now some sun-dried tomatoes. We never go wrong with sun-dried tomatoes, I feel like. Give them a nice slice. And then I want to add them and their juices, because that juice is phenomenal. Okay. I'm going to add some of my canned bell or canned banana peppers. I love banana peppers on a Italian sub. Now we're going to start making the sauce, and I'm just going to make it all in this bowl. So I have about a tablespoon of sugar. I'm going to add in there. I'm going to add a good amount of oregano. Garlic powder. And then the dressing is going to be red wine vinegar. I'm just going to give it to taste here. And some olive oil. More olive oil than vinegar. And then I almost forgot, we have to add in our pasta. I may need a bigger bowl. This got big quickly. Before we even give it a taste, can we talk about all of the colors, textures, all the stuff going on in there? I mean, that is gorgeous. So I don't know how much of the dressing, the olive oil and the vinegar that I did, so I'm just going to give it a quick taste just with the noodles. Oh my god. Now, that was good. Let's give it a bite with everything. Well, as much stuff as we can get. Maybe a piece of cheese. Where's some cheese? There's some cheese. Can you get a tomato? Okay. Come on. Oh, I have pepperoni. I want a bite of everything. Okay. Okay. I got a bite of everything. Let's give this a try. I do want some more oregano. And then I definitely want some more vinegar. I don't know if I need olive oil yet. Oops. Everything go back in there. Let's toss again. There is so many flavors going on. You almost don't even need a dressing, but the pasta needs a dressing. But wouldn't this be good, even if you didn't add the pasta, kind of just have it as like a side salad with all this goodness in here. Guys, that is fantastic. That is so good. That is going to be a delicious summer salad. I'm going to use it this time around. I'm going to use it for a work lunch. Maybe just right out of the bowl like this. Mm. 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 But it's super easy, super delicious. Take to a picnic, a cookout, and really, this is a perfect meal to have on those summer days when you don't want to cook, it's too hot. Make this. Eat it cold. It has cheese, it has meat, it has veggies, it has your starch. It's a well balanced meal. You could, too. I thought of this, I didn't want to. You could just put Italian dressing on this. That'd be really good. I really like the vinegar and the olive oil. I think that makes it taste even more like an Italian sub. Now we're gonna have our spoon with it too. Guys, sometimes I'm really proud of myself. So, the only thing we're waiting on is the chicken, which is almost done. And I'm just gonna dice that up, toss it in with the rice. But we got scones made, a pasta dish made, a pasta salad made. And really, that's not really a pasta salad, it's a pasta dish. But really, it's fantastic. It's Sunday. I'm not gonna eat this until Tuesday at lunchtime. So that's gonna be completely fine. Everything is just gonna sit in that sauce. I'll probably have to come Tuesday morning and give it a good toss and potentially add more vinegar and olive oil to it. But that's the really nice thing with this pasta is the sauce. It's just vinegar and olive oil. You can't beat it. My chicken is fully cooked, so I'm just going to dice it and then add it to my rice. Talk about saving a buck. 2 cups of rice, 2 chicken breasts, and a head of broccoli, and I have 3 freezer meals ready to go. If I was smarter and didn't have dinner plans, I would keep one out for dinner tonight, but I already have dinner plans. So all 3 of these are going to go in the oven first. We're going to bake them, and then they're going to get wrapped up real good and go in the freezer. What I really like to do when I reheat these is I get them out of the freezer, let them defrost completely. Once they're defrosted, you can put them back in the oven to get them nice and crispy, or because they're already cooked, you can just spoon it out and microwave it if you want to. But these are going to be so good. So I'm going to go ahead and get these into the oven. The oven set for 375, and they'll be in there for about 20 to 30 minutes, just until that cornbread kind of gets a nice crust on top. Again, everything inside is cooked, so we're just trying to get it all to set together. So we'll be back when that is done. But then we are all done. I just need to do these last bit of dishes, the big bowl and the cutting board. Just need to do those dishes. Everything else you've been keeping up with. I do need to soak that bad boy. I do this every time I make cheese. You just let it soak for a long time, which bothers me because I want to like get it all clean and be done. But we're gonna let this soak. We have to wash this pot, but that's it. So we've been going for about an hour and a half. And in an hour and a half, we made scones, we made a pasta salad, we made a pasta dish, and I made 3 freezer meals for the freezer. So I don't think it's a bad use of my afternoon. But now I'm hot. Having this oven on is so, so hot. I do have air conditioners downstairs. I think I need to get one. Well, I'm not going to. I think it would be smart if I had one in my kitchen. And especially because I'm cooking so much, it would cool this kitchen down. But I think actually what I'm going to try to look for is setting up a temporary kitchen in my garage. I want to get a Camp Chef stove. That's where I'm going to do all of my camming this year. And that way it's outside, it's in the shade, and it's much cooler. And then I'm not heating up the house as much. So I think that's, well, I don't think, that is my plan moving forward. But up until today, it was just going to be for me to be canning on. And now I think I'm going to try to get some sort of temporary outdoor kitchen that's in the shade, away from the sun, has a nice breeze, but at the end of the day that I'm not heating up this house because it is hot. So I'm going to finish up these few dishes, put the very few things away that I have to do. Like I said, I've been keeping up on it so that when I'm done, I don't have a massive dish pile to do. And then we'll be back in 20-25 minutes when these guys are ready to come out of the oven. Then we'll let them cool completely, and then we'll put them in the freezer. That's all for this video, friends. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you give these recipes a try. If you do, let me know what you think. And if you doctor them up a little bit, let me know what you did and let me know what you thought. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.